Now, the rest of the story.
Well, good morning. It is currently 12:30 a.m. and it's yet again readily apparent that I'm back in the 8235. I really don't plan on working all night like I do. It's just how the cards get laid out for me, and I just deal with what I'm dealt with. Once again, all day today, Ryan and I were between doing chores and making an emergency run to go get parts that I didn't realize we didn't have, which is really common when it comes to working on equipment. See, the 46 is, well, we ran it for about an hour, so I'm going to say it's up and running. I got to do some work to it, to the 46, to the corn planter yet. Mainly just going through and making connections, make sure the monitor works, and if the opportunity presents itself where I can put some seed in it, good seed, old seed, I really couldn't care less at this point, and pull it across Mom's yard or out in the field somewhere, but and just make sure everything's going to work, because the last 2 years where we've gone out to start planting, but we don't usually do dry runs with it, it usually comes back and bites us in the butt, because those row shutoffs, generally 1 to 2 go out every year. They get dust or dirt, grime, whatever else in them, and it gives us a headache. And everyone is pretty testy when it comes to startup days, especially for planting, because you want to plant, especially when you finally make the decision that you're going to start putting seed into the ground. The last thing you want to do after having the last how many weeks to get everything ready to go, to have to sit and be shut down and sit on your hands and get the planter, any bugs worked out of the planter. So, like I said, if I get a chance to, I will. I'm really just trying to get done chisel plowing. And the thing is, I got about, I'd say about an hour, a healthy part of an hour, to get this field that I'm in done. Now, this is the one that I started last fall. Ran until like 4 in the morning using the 46 and the chisel. And last fall was just miserable all the way around. I mean, the money was great at the end of the day, but the amount of energy and stress and worrying that we had to go through to get there was a little bit more than normal. But the thing with the last fall is, what little bit of chiseling I did do, because I only did 8 hours worth. Once again, I went out at, I think it was 8 or 9 o'clock that night by the time I got to it. Oh, because I was baling. Yeah, I was making round bales in this field. And finally got to where I could hook onto the chisel plow. And I ran until the ground got too hard on me, and the chisel plow was, well, on the lower side of this field for how for how I actually work it up. I did towards the bottom first, or the waterway, and that was fine, but when I started to work up above that, about halfway up the hill here, it was exposed enough to the cool night air. I'm just spitballing here. But when I was dropping the chisel plow in, you had to go a couple feet for it to decide whether or not it was going to go in or if it was just going to drag across the top of the ground. You start doing stuff like that, pulling up chunks of frozen dirt, that's when you break stuff. I ended up catching it on a rock. So I brought a big rock up with it and busted a shank, and I wasn't planning on being done the next day, but because I went and got the new replacement part, and it was in the back of my truck until I put it on this spring. So last fall was a hassle, I guess is a good way to say it, and honestly I think we're all just getting to where we just want to forget it. That's having the amount of tillage that we have to do, primary tillage such as chisel plowing. This is the most I've had to do in the spring since Grandpa died. So, oh well, it is farming. Nothing goes exactly how it's supposed to every single year. You just gotta roll with the punches and honestly just deal with it. I guess that's a lot of what YouTube doesn't see. I think that's something a lot of people really don't understand when they watch videos online. Not just my videos either, but viewers overall, you guys are seeing what we want you to see, what we allow you to see. You guys don't necessarily get to see all the problems that we have or what it takes to problem solve different issues that we could have. Like the other night, you guys didn't I didn't film any of trying to get this fixed. We sat and worked on it for a good hour and 15 minutes. And it ended up being a broken wire on it that there's no way I would have found it. It was up behind the alternator, and it was just the wire, the connector actually twisted off. I actually had it in here. Calvin's probably laying on it. It's irrelevant. But I don't know. It is getting late enough as it is. It'll probably be about, what time is it, did I say? It was 12:30? Yeah, it'll be sometime after 1 o'clock by the time I get done with this field. I'm getting to the top of the hill, and once I get onto these short rows like this, it gets knocked out really quick. And I'm kind of on the fence. I came home and I had a dog bed for Calvin that I brought home with me because I left my truck up at the farm. So I ended up going in the house real quick, and Brittany ended up feeding me, made supper. And that was at 8 o'clock. And I still got a very full gut. And I'm wide awake. But to be honest, doing field work in a tractor, it doesn't have to necessarily be tillage, but I do enjoy the tillage aspect of life. It's honestly where I do some of my best thinking, as odd as that sounds. Non-farmers probably don't understand that, but I guess a lot of non-farmers would relate to other different things in their lives, such as working on cars or video games or whatever else, but I don't know. The nice thing about doing field work like this, it's dark out. I always did radiate towards night work. I just prefer it. It's not like I seek it out, but it just seems like it's just how it works out. When you're working at night, it seems like it goes by a little bit easier, because on some of these fields we have, everything below me here, I've probably made about 60 passes. And I gotta be honest with you, as much as I like doing tillage, during the day when you can see what little progress you make after working for a half hour, I mean, it is kind of nice where it's dark out. You can't see the landmarks to see how far you really are getting, and you actually just kind of sink back in the seat and actually enjoy it more. You know, yeah, it's pretty much what I was raised to do anyway. I'm labeled a jerk a lot, but I don't know. I think the reason I'm labeled a jerk a lot is because I'm pretty straightforward. I really don't like beating around the bush. I'm pretty much direct in a lot of things I like to be doing and interacting with people. I think that's something social media has actually taken out of a lot of people. A lot of people are really willing and probably don't think about it too thoroughly to comment or say something on social media that they wouldn't say to a person to their face, because they don't have the risk of getting a fist to the jaw. Or maybe it's just me, I don't know. But ideally here, I'm gonna be done chisel plowing here within 24 hours. I'm gonna hook onto the VT, and I'm actually planning on going up and at least working up our seeding ground, or at least my dad's. Dad has, I wanna say 15 acres of seeding. So the plan is to try to get that in here relatively soon, with the real intentions of, we get the oats in, the plan is just to keep right on going, and we unhook the grain drill, pull out the corn planter and run. Ryan has a bunch of seeding we got to put in for him yet. The plan was to do his right along with Dad's, but the problem is his has to get worked up yet, and Ryan has some things planned out that, well, Ryan has some obligations to meet, and to meet those obligations, Ryan is planning on using that ground he's going to be seeding down as an example. At least that's what he's currently planning. So what's probably going to happen here is, and it isn't the end of the world, it isn't going to hurt anything, we use oats as a cover crop, a parent crop, a mother crop, for alfalfa, to get our alfalfa stand started well. We don't harvest our oats for grain anymore, and if we end up going through and planting all of our corn and beans, which is quite honestly, if the conditions call for us where we could be putting our grain crops in, I'd rather be putting our grain crops in, and then shift around and finish up seeding oats, my brother's seeding for him. So it's really comes down to a Mother Nature aspect of it, how well she's going to really work with us. She's been moody this whole week here. I honestly wasn't planning on getting what I have done as far as tillage done, because we were supposed to get a bunch of rain. We did get it, but not to the extent where we were gonna be shut down this entire last week. So I ended up getting like the tillage done now, the tillage done the other night, where you guys saw me coming home in that rainstorm. That rainstorm was pretty much all the rain we really got. It was really spotty. You can drive 10 miles west of us and they're seeding oats. We're wet. I mean, this field it's dry enough where I could be working it. But if I would have came out at 8 o'clock this morning to work it up without having the 60-degree weather day today and that breeze we had, I don't know, I think it would have been a little bit too tacky. I mean, the tires are bringing up a little bit of mud on them, but it's also coming up on the end of the month, the end of April. I just got it in me anymore where I'd like to, at least, if the conditions permit, I would really like to be planting corn around the 25th of April. Being realistic this year, unless Mother Nature really works with us, I'm not convinced that's really going to happen this year. I'm still waiting on my graphite. What's the name of it? It's not straight graphite. It's a seed additive to promote root growth. And I guess the stuff was in stupid high demand, which is kind of a good thing, I guess you could say. It's coming directly from the factory, from the production plant. You guys will be getting a video on that. You will be getting a video on, well, I guess I shouldn't say that because I'm not entirely sure if you guys will get a video on our seed or not. I really haven't said anything about our corn seed. It's in the garage, and that's about it. We went with DeKalb and Dairyland this year. We got away from AgriGold, largely because our agronomist no longer works at the place he was at that was handling AgriGold, and the place he's currently at, which I think he's probably going to be there for the foreseeable future. He's seems a lot happier there than what he was at the last place. But he's back to selling DeKalb, which doesn't bother us in the least because we liked DeKalb. With what he's actually brought to the operation as far as his insight, he was actually picking out varieties of AgriGold seed and comparing them to our DeKalb seed that we had planted that first year we were working with Andrew. He was actually picking out AgriGold seed and planting it side by side, split rowed with our 12 row. So we were doing the 6 rows on the left side of the planter as AgriGold and the 6 rows on the right as DeKalb. And they were within 2 bushels of each other to 10 bushels of each other. And honestly, across the whole operation, it was a pretty well wash. When I say they were 2 to 10 bushels apart from each other, that sounds like a lot. 10 bushels is a lot, yes. But the thing is, when I say that, okay, at Rockville, AgriGold beat out DeKalb by 10 bushels. But then if you go out to my brother's place, DeKalb wiped the floor with AgriGold. I think it was by 8 or 10 bushels out there. I mean, you give me a little bit of break here. This was, when we did that trial, that was 2 or 3 years ago already. So it all comes down to varieties and seed types. It's not just brand specific. We got away from Pioneer. We ran that for 50 some years. Grandpa planted Pioneer since he started farming, and it took a lot of convincing to get Grandpa away from Pioneer. He wasn't exactly all that crazy about not planting Pioneer until we told him the price difference of the seed quote we got from Pioneer, and then we showed him the triple stack racehorse, like some of their top end genetic varieties that DeKalb had to offer, and they were coming in significantly lower than Pioneer. And what really pissed us off is then the Pioneer seed dealer came back a couple days after we told them they can keep their seed and offered us a lower price. That's highly insulting. That happens all the time, don't get me wrong, I'm not stupid. But when you come back and are willing to offer a lower price because the price you initially offered was too high, in the view of the farmer, why weren't you giving me that price in the first place? And it all comes down to dollar signs and their bottom line, but it's a good way to lose customers too, and that's exactly what happened. They lost us as a customer, and we haven't been back to them since. So I don't know, we were with one co-op basically my whole life, and now we've gone through 2 other ones since that I never thought we would have ever gone through, and we've actually been happier with the following 2 ag centers, whatever you want to call them, and been happier going through them than going through the co-op. So it all boils down to preference. It all boils down to customer service. Same thing with green tractors and red tractors and blue tractors and the ever so rare pink tractor when my wife can find them. But when it comes to machinery and stuff like that, it really boils down to serviceability and what you can do to them, and if you can get service as far as having the dealership work on them. As far as the 8235 goes, honestly, just spitballing, guys, I can see the 8235 going down the road and actually looking at getting like an older tractor, like either like an 8010 series or maybe a 20 series. I love this tractor. I mean, I do. I like this tractor. Do not get me wrong there. Do not mistake me there. The only problem I got is it's kind of aggravating the amount of wiring that is on this tractor. I mean, technology is awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong, but even I don't got my head so far in the clouds to realize that all it takes is one rogue rat to get up underneath this cab of this tractor to really ruin an entire season, for that matter. And I don't know, I haven't heard too many stories about that, but hey, anybody that actually is from Europe, somebody commented on my dad's new purchase video. Somebody made the comment about Europe trailers, how Dad's trailer is so weird to them compared to Europe. I don't remember who you were or anybody else from Europe that could kind of explain maybe where that person is coming from, but I really didn't understand where they were coming from as far as how that trailer my dad got was so different compared to what you see in Europe. So anybody that can kind of shed some light on that for me, I'd appreciate it. I had another question from a guy from, was it Czechoslovakia? He was across the pond, but he was wondering about farm sales and why we had to have a farm sale, and why, well, he wasn't asking just about us, he was asking about why farmers in general have retirement sales and stuff like that. Well, a lot of it boils down to money and people getting along and people having their wills and everything set up before they pass. It's really common across the agriculture community to hear that all the time about how an older person in an operation that was part of the operation or was the head of the operation, say like in our case it was my grandpa, when they pass, families start fighting, and whenever there's a little bit of blood in the water, the sharks just start circling. And that's pretty common in all American farms, I guess. I can't really speak too much for farms around the world, but when you get multiple siblings, multiple family members that just want their money, and everyone just will start fighting because everybody wants as much money from the estate as they can get. As far as us, what happened there is Grandpa passed. He had multiple daughters, and he only had It was my mom's dad, if you guys are wondering. It's not my dad's dad. My dad actually married the farmer's daughter. There you go. What happened is that it was my mom, my mom's family, my brother, myself, my dad, that were here. We're wanting to keep farming, that we're fighting to keep farming, that we're farming and had farmed with Grandpa our whole lives. And when Grandma and Grandpa were no longer here, they wanted everything sold out and to be done with. Well, I have said that we got the land. In the end, it was written down, and there really wasn't much getting around it. I mean, we got the land. The only thing is, Grandpa didn't specify anything on the dairy, the dairy cows, the beef cows, the calves, the equipment, and that was still part of my grandpa's property. So like the land was to us, to my immediate family, like my mom, my dad, my brother, and I mean my sister. We have a sister too. And what ended up happening is, same as how Grandpa didn't have anything down stating what happened to the dairy cattle, the beef cattle, and the equipment, that was still part of Grandpa's property. It was part of his estate. So Grandpa's estate, which was his kids, they wanted it all sold out and wanted an auction, and that's exactly what they got. The big thing is that obviously they wanted the land. They didn't get it, because otherwise I wouldn't be here, Ryan wouldn't be here making videos. But as far as the equipment and the dairy and the beef cows, I did buy a beef calf from Grandpa's herd. I do have, believe it or not, I actually bought her from the sale. I bought her for a relatively good price because she was a 500-pound beef heifer, and I've been getting calves out of her every year since 2015. So actually I do have part of Grandpa's herd in my herd. So Grandpa's, at least beef cows, are still in a way on the farm. The dairy, I think the relatives, they all thought they were really hurting us by getting rid of the dairy cows. I was happy to see them go. None of my family wanted to milk. We're happy where we're at right now as far as doing beef and crops. It's a lot better life. The dairy operation wasn't set up to keep milking cows in that barn for forever. We would have had to put a lot of money and into the infrastructure of the barn. We would have really had to look into doing like a freestall and really up our herd numbers. And if anybody knows anything about the dairy industry, the dairy industry is struggling. I was just talking to a guy, which is, it's offhand information, but I was talking to a guy who ran into two truckers. They were running these big pot trucks, and they were in the business, or they were hired. I don't think they weren't specifically in the business, but they were hired to go to these dairy operations, these dairy farms that the bank had foreclosed on, and the bank was sending these guys in to load up these different dairy herds and take them up to the slaughter. And the guy said, he looked onto the trailer and he said that they were not junk cows by any means. He said they were show quality cattle that they were loading up and taking to the slaughterhouse, because dairy is a struggle. It was always a struggle my whole life growing up. That's all it was ever was how much milk was in the tank and how much the price currently is on the board, and that's stressful growing up in that. There's plenty of YouTube channels out there that are doing dairy, and I'm sure they're feeling the pinch too. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from them. Growing up in it myself, I knew for a fact that I did not want to milk for the rest of my life. I milked for the last 4 years that the dairy was here because I had to. There's nobody else to milk them. So I did what I had to do. I destroyed my back to do it, but it cost me my back, which after back surgery I'm about 95%, but I'm good enough. But at least we're here. Grandpa said that he was going to die milking cows, and he got exactly what he wished for. We were milking cows all the way up until the day he died. As a matter of fact, he died in my arms when I came up to go milk cows. He called me up when I was literally putting my boots on that morning to come up and start milking, and he told me that he fell. And I went in the house, and he had a heart attack. He died in my arms. So my grandma did the same thing. She ended up passing right in front of me too. So I don't know. I guess I can only show or tell you guys so much online to really get the point across as to where we really stand and where my family really is on the operation. I was my grandpa's go-to person when it came to if he was ever in trouble or if he needed anything. He always knew that if he called me, I would answer. Grandma and Grandpa both knew that my family was always going to be there, and we were right up until the end. So Grandpa, it was actually kind of a nice pat on the back. Grandpa would always brag about how no matter where I was, I could be anywhere on these farms and all he had to do was call me and I'd show up within 15-20 minutes depending on how long it took me to get home. So I don't know, that's kind of a good feeling, knowing that your grandparents and your family members can at least rely on you in that way, that they know they can trust you. Because, like I said, I was the one that got the phone call both times when Grandma and Grandpa were, heading out. So, I don't know. I'm not the only one in the history of ever that's has a story like that, but and honestly, it's not like it's really that hard to live with. As far as watching my grandparents die, at least they knew I was there. They knew that they were safe, basically, all the way up until the moment they were gone. Which translates into why I get called such an ass all the time. But I don't know. You guys wonder why, or people wonder why I'm such a jerk, or tend to be kind of a jerk when it comes to talking about my relatives or my grandparents. As a grandson, that was basically, the farm was my second home my whole life. Nothing's more gut-wrenching and enraging than coming into the house to your grandpa crying because he missed his family, he missed his kids, and none of them would come around, none of his grandkids were coming around, and he was sad. And I don't know what the hell their problem was. Bullheaded or just didn't fucking care or what, but I don't know. People wonder, they always say forgiveness, everyone should be willing to forgive, but honestly, I've seen my grandparents cry more than any grandchild should see your grandparents cry. And it was out of pure sadness because they felt like they were abandoned by their other kids, because they didn't see their grandkids, they didn't see their own kids. All it come down to was money. Money tears families apart, guys. Anybody that's watching this that is still watching, it sucks. It really does. When you're young and a teenager or whatever else like that, and you're kind of oblivious to the world and still kind of naive about how the world really works. But I don't know. See, this is the kind of stuff that I end up mulling over when I'm out here in the middle of the night trying to get caught back up to at least where we should be. That's a lot of my problem right now, is I don't feel like we're where we should be as far as field work and have everything done that we should really have done. I like the list of work that we have to do it's piling up. We're chipping away at it, but it seems like there's getting more added to the pile faster than we're able to get it done. So it'll be nice once we actually get the planter rolling and we start seeing some of that crop coming up out of the ground. I think Calvin's getting a little restless again though. Hey buddy. He's getting hot. So if anybody has a lot of stress issues, get yourself a dog. I will recommend Golden Retriever. I've had them my whole life. I like them more than Labs though. They're a lot more laid back. And he does a really good job at... Golden Retrievers have always done a great job riding in the tractors. So, make good friends. All right, buddy. I don't know. I'm looking forward to 2019. I hope everybody else is. The YouTube videos are going to keep coming for the foreseeable future. Everybody's asking if I'm going to have kids anytime soon. I keep getting that random question. I'll answer it. No, we're not expecting. And honestly, when it comes to kids, anybody that really cares, when it comes to the time where I actually have some young ones running around here, and this is all kind of pertaining to whether or not I'm still doing YouTube at that time. I mean, that is part of the reason why I do this. YouTube is forever. At least that's what I'm hoping for, because I no longer am saving my videos. I just don't have enough hard drive space. So I've actually been kind of deleting my videos as I go, because my videos are like several gigabytes in size. But I'm really making these videos for like my kids to watch and me to look back and reminisce on when I had more hair in my head, because I think everybody's noticed I am going to be bald just like my Grandpa Keen. So as far as when I actually do have kids running around, I'm honestly not going to make a big deal about it. You guys know that I have a nephew, and you guys have seen Jack, my nephew Jack. How much you've seen him is probably as much as you're going to see my own kids. If I plan it right, if we do it properly, you guys probably won't even know that we have a kid until a month or so after we actually have him or her. but I don't know. I'm really not for putting a lot of pictures out there on Facebook of my kids or whatever else like that. I don't know, that's just me. So, sorry kids, I'm just, your dad's trying to look out for you. So, yeah, I don't even know how long I've been talking. You guys are actually kind of keeping me company right now because I was getting kind of grumpy there, if you guys couldn't tell. So the 82 is, like I said, I'm a hypocrite. The 82 is on the chisel plow. I'm full of contradictions. I said I wouldn't like to put the chisel plow on it, but I will. The 82 does an awesome job on it. I average anywhere between 5 and 5.5 acres an hour with the 4640. I'm running at 7.3 right now an hour, and at peak performance I get it right about 7.5. So it's a lot better ride. It's a lot more comfortable, it's a lot more efficient, yada yada yada. Nothing I don't think you guys haven't heard me say a million times. But if you can't tell, this little sliver of ground that I have left to do is getting awfully short. Because, let's see here. See, the moon is out. I can actually pretty well see. I can actually see pretty good. If I don't blind myself by the display. We're gonna pull in right here. Drop in. Boom. See? All without the use of the lights. So. Well, my throat's getting dry. I wasn't really planning on talking about my grandparents too much, and I'm not really sure if I'm going to upload that video, this video. That's one thing that I really don't see too much on other channels, and maybe I really should be staying that route. I talk too much on the personal side of things around here, as opposed to just talking about this is X, Y, and Z and farming. Just keep it farming, I guess. But I guess it wouldn't be the rest of the story without a story. And with that, I hope everybody enjoyed riding along, for whoever stayed along this long. I'll try to get another action shot. I did bring my magnet mount and my other GoPro for putting it on the chisel plow. The only problem is that I can't really get too many good action shots in the dark. There's not enough light for the GoPro to work properly. I tried already and it's just too dark, so I'll try. I can't guarantee nothing, but I'll try. So with that, you guys are watching the rest of the story. There's plenty of stories to come. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch. I hope everybody's enjoying their weather, enjoying their spring weather. If you guys are, unless you guys are going into fall, for everybody down in Australia. I'll talk to you guys tonight. Bye.